right, you're in frame. You're here for the official release of the Arcade of the Scribes. 75 out of over 100 writers, poets, and personalities of the Lower East Side here at the Tompkins Square Park Library. I'm here with Linda Kleinbub, and we're about ready to go. Available thanks to Big Mike Logan and everyone else involved.
C.D. Johnson.
C.D. Johnson.
And Rogue Scholars Press.
C.D. S.E.E.
C.D.
S.E.E.D.Y. C.D. Johnson.
And Rogue Scholars Press.
Rogue Scholars Press, available on lulu.com.
And we have 64 people signed up. We have 64 people signed up to read today. And you never know what surprises will show up.
Currently. We're expecting maybe 75.
Right, up to 75.
Up to and including 75.
So thank you. Thank you, Chris Iconicide.
Iconicide. Yes.
Thank you, Chris Iconicide, for recording this for us. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, great. Settle down, guys. Have a seat. Welcome, everybody.
Where do we go?
My name is Linda Kleinbub, and this is the Rogue Scholars, the Arcade of the Scribes, a summer solstice day spectacle of willfully poetic endeavors, the 2023 anthology, and that's what we're here to celebrate today. And to get us started, I'm going to have Jeffrey Katz say a few words. Welcome, Jeffrey, everybody.
Thank you so much. It's great to see such a great crowd, and we're very happy to be hosting this. I'm Jeff Katz. I am the Adult Services Librarian here at the Tompkins Square Branch, and we are thrilled, first of all, to be reopened after a bit of a renovation. If you look upstairs, you can see that it looks a bit different than it did about 5 months ago. So if you haven't seen it in its full glory, please go upstairs and take a look when you have a chance. And I also wanted to mention that we have a bunch of programs coming up that are all focused on the East Village arts scene, and a couple of them are in flyers, are advertised on flyers that you can pick up at the desk over there. So we hope to see you there. And I also wanted to mention that Linda was kind enough to give me a bunch of copies of books that were published and written by many of you. And we are going to be adding these to our collection. So one thing that you may not be aware of is the fact that we have an East Village collection, a special collection upstairs. And so these will be added to the East Village collection. So thank you very much. Oh yes, the anthology is a part of it. It'll take a little while because cataloging is always an adventure. But eventually, we will have all those books here cataloged. And as Linda saw, we had a bunch of books from previous poetry readings that are actually on the shelves right now. Okay, so thank you again and enjoy, and we're really excited to be hosting this.
All right, everybody, we have a couple of rules for the reading because we're expecting 65 people and we have to be finished by 4:30. So Madeline ARTENBERG, the lovely author of Naming a Hurricane by Pink Trees Press, is our official timekeeper today. And she has her tambourine with her. And when time runs out, you will hear this sound. And if you do not heed to that sound, you will hear this sound. And then we have someone with a big hook who will come out and grab you and drag you up the stage. So we really want you to stick to what's in the book. I know people have said my piece is very short, but we really want everybody who comes to be able to read. And I know that the room isn't packed now, but I know a lot of people are coming a little bit later. So like I said, we have 65 people and we have to be done by 4:30. So to get started, we have a reader copy. We have 2 books that I'm going around that we're asking everybody to sign as a souvenir. So if you could sign the books before you leave. And to get started, Didi Champagne will be first, then we have Austin Alexis, and then Miriam Stanley. We'll try to tell you who's on deck. And if you have your own book, you can read from that, but if you need a copy, we'll have one up here. And to get started, I have 2 poems in this book. To get started, I will read one of them real quickly. And this poem is called Rites of Passage. Celebrate life at weddings and funerals, vows of virtue, cutting a mother's apron strings. To flee the spindles, treacherous threads, we celebrate with you. We bury loved ones, their secrets rise up, in discontent and heartache. The lies of a long marriage awaken the dead, tales pass to family, let the misinterpretations begin. Anticipation of free minutes, let the racing mind unwind. With the dew point low and the winds blowing dry, wisp of clouds cause my glance to rise. Thank you. Now I'll give you Didi champagne, everyone.
Thank you so much, Linda. It's such an honor to be here with everyone. So I'm reading this poem because it reminds me of when I met Steve Cannon in the 90s. I was working for the New York Theater Workshop, and it was a wonderful place. And I remember bumping into him. I went to his place, and he sounded like Cecil Taylor, and I just absolutely loved him. And then I ended up having a date with Taylor Mead at the Bowery Poetry Club that same night. So, and yeah, I can remember it like yesterday. Actually, not all of it. Anyway, oh, and I also had a show within the week, and I had Jonas Mekas read poetry with my band. Okay, so this is the poem in the book. Reading beyond the first sentence is crucial. She's a fortune teller, and she's high on demand. Her existence takes us to another place, and we don't really have to bare our soul, but just cast a shadow on the page like a hole in the cloud, or like licking a leftover knife. Her hair's a jungle red, as ripe as murder. Days and nights crisscross her footsteps, tapping the sidewalk like a piece of chalk. The jukebox plays a very rough beat, placing the camera inside her hustle that'll ride her swing. A wired brain into another day, and it begins all over again, tapping the sidewalk like a piece of chalk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Didi Champagne. And if I could ask everybody, please not too many introductions, just try to read your piece if you can. And next up, we have Austin Alexis, then Miriam Stanley, and then Linda Schwartz. Let's hear it for Austin, everybody.
Thank you, Linda, and thank you, Philip, for putting this reading together. My poem is very appropriate because it was inspired by Tompkins Square Park. While in Tompkins Square Park, somehow I expect to spot Henry James, or Ruby Dee, or Neruda, or other paragons, dead, yet breathing, their individual spirit too vital to die. Here in this park, where thuds resound from the tops of bongos, I anticipate the heroic sound of the voices I've just listed. Intricate Jamesian sentences lacing the air. The inimitable, heartfelt drawl of Ruby Dee. In this urban green, doling out drum beats and the pounding of basketballs and the animal roars of peripheral buses, I await not overly aggressive squirrels, nor loudmouth slovenly chess players, but an electric charge from Neruda, while Dee and James part the clouds. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. I just want to say, I want to thank people responsible for this book. C.D. Johnson did most of all the work of getting it all together, but it came about because of the New Year's Day reading. And I want to thank Big Mike Logan, Viviana Duncan, Madeline Artenberg, and Sue Polo, and Ellen Lytle for getting us Westbeth. Those people really, if we didn't have them, we wouldn't even have that reading last year. And I also want to thank the committee who was going to put together a New Year's Day reading this year, so we all get a break and we don't have to do anything, right? All right, next up we have Miriam Stanley, and then Linda Schwartz, and then Barbara Rosenthal. Let's hear it for Miriam.
This is called Women in Cages, and it's about the Limelight, the club. Goddesses, ascended by pulleys and cables from the ceiling, sinewy limbs straddling the steel bars, long thighs and high-stacked go-go heels, or in tall, dark Martin combats. The women lean, muscular, toned, powerfully sexy. While on the dance floor, we strain our sore necks to gape at black leather might. We in awe, them indifferent.
Miriam. Now we have Linda Schwartz, who sometimes goes by Linda Black, so you never know what you're going to get with Linda.
Same thing.
Hello. Since a lot of people in my life are getting COVID, I decided to read a poem that I wrote in the spring of 2020 at the very beginning of the pandemic. It's called Still Carrying Lipstick. Face covering's a necessity. Not sure why I still carry lipstick. These days, one familiarity remains doable and makes me feel normal. Earrings. My hair is swept up in a ponytail beneath a baseball cap to avoid contact with this potentially lethal novel enemy. But I purposely sport shiny dangling earrings each and every day. After all, the body is far more than a vulnerable organism. Its strength, its beauty, its ability must intentionally be kept alive. I wear earrings as if nothing has happened. Spring flowers are blooming as if nothing has happened. Songbirds are happy and singing, yet our numb lips are masked. We cannot speak of the unspeakable, we know not its depth. Frozen by conflicting information with fear, shame, and pain, awaiting knowledge that will ignite our internal flame to melt this suspended state. Until then, I'm still carrying lipstick, hope always at reach, while masks smear and remove all color. I suffer quiet respect and sympathy for all left succumbed, my beloved father among them. Silent mouths without lipstick, accentuating the raw horror as we navigate this oddly morphed life.
Thank you very much. Next up we have Barbara Rosenthal, then we will have Davidson Garrett, and then ICE-GRYL Johnson. Let's hear it for Barbara Rosenthal, everybody.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much. I have a visual piece in here, so I'm going to read a companion piece from an earlier book of mine, Sensations, from 1984. It's okay. I also brought 2 copies of my novel. So one of them is going in the library, but I have another one for sale if anyone wants it. Okay, here we go, 3 minutes or less. I took photographs yesterday, is the name of this prose piece. I took photographs yesterday. The sun was shining, and it was a perfect day for taking pictures. There was a picture of an old lady investigating an empty cardboard box with her cane, and then unpacking the shopping bag she was carrying into the empty box. A little dog followed her around. She threw the empty shopping bag into the street and the dog peed on it. I took a photograph of a woman wearing washing a black and white tile floor. As she washed the floor, the water slopped over her feet. I saw birds that looked like rodents. I saw people crossing the street against the light. I saw women with swollen feet and swollen legs. People wear uncomfortable clothing. The seasons change around us in perfectly orchestrated, gradual, daily perceivable way. The air quality is almost always bad. People are generally friendly. Artists and derelicts are often hard to tell apart. Women do a lot of bending, carrying, awkward walking. People have a hierarchical system of physical gestures corresponding to feelings of neighborliness based on some calculation of the number of times they see each other and other factors and circumstances of their settings, their relative races, relative ages, sexes, etc. Art is a mammoth execution.
All right, thank you, Barbara Rosenthal. It's always good to see Barbara. Next up, we have Davidson Garrett. Let's hear from
I'm going to
Davidson.
banter on my way up, so I won't finish my 3 minutes. Thank you, Linda, so much for organizing all of this, and to C.D. Johnson. I'm honored to be a part of this beautiful anthology with all of you wonderful poets. Page 76, The Tilt-A-Whirl. On the night after my father's funeral, my sister and I went to a traveling carnival. We rode the Tilt-A-Whirl. It seemed an appropriate response from a beleaguered week of inconvenient grief. Strapped into the rotating ride, built like a booth in a 1950s soda shop, we spun around and around and around into the oppression of humid southern air. Twirling ferociously in a circle within a circle, our zany laughter was replaced by primal screams. These howls substituted for tears. Neither one of us could shed as we viewed the lead coffin one last time. When the spinning ceased, we strolled down the avenue of the old-fashioned Midway, happily inebriated. A calliope played Anchors Away amid bright lights illuminating murals advertising a cheesy burlesque show. While we shared a bag of caramel corn, our chuckles lifted the veiled gloom of paternal death, remembering how the absent-minded undertaker forgot his cemetery map for Daddy's freshly dug grave. With ravenous mosquitoes biting through guilt-ridden skin, we finished our nostalgic evening on a merry-go-round. Not since I was 6 and she was 8 had we shared an ornamented coach together. Elegantly, our carved horses with eyes frozen in trances pranced up and down while circus music echoed in the breeze. Finally, time to leave the rambling old fairgrounds we had known as children. For a short while, the smell of cotton candy zoomed us back decades when life seemed less complicated. We knew deep inside that was a manufactured myth. The halcyon past was about as real as the man who claimed to be Popeye in the freak show. Only the Tilt-A-Whirl didn't disappoint.
family life is always less complicated when cotton candy is involved. You can agree with that. All right, next up we have ICE-GRYL Johnson, and then we will have Begonia Plaza, and then David Huberman's poem will be read by Mo Kelly Nolan. ICE Johnson.
It's really nice to see all your faces, for haven't seen in such a long time. My poem today is about the devastation that's going on in Ukraine. Bucha, Ukraine. All you could see from under the dirt, a pink fingernail. She must have clutched her fist. It was the third or fourth finger sticking out from the rebel. As the camera moved, you could see other bodies lying in the street where they were shot. Zelensky began his speech talking about how he needs more supplies and to make sure he names this atrocity a deliberate massacre. Putin must be held responsible for war crimes. You can see Ukraine soldiers taking their time approaching the bodies. They are skeptical, afraid that they've been booby-trapped, frightened to think this could go on literally for a long while. You hear this from journalists, former ambassadors. My brain can't manage what I see day after day after day, watching Zelensky talking to Russian mothers. Do you know your sons raped a mother who was held hostage over and over in front of her son, killed her, left her in the streets naked before they're leaving the city of Bucha? Genocide runs wild in me. Not more than a day of this brutality is manageable. I mean, these simple words don't come with emotions or tears. I put them on this page and give them to the universe while I sit here crying. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we have Begonia Plaza, and then we will have David Huberman's piece read, and then Burt Barrow. Welcome, Begonia Plaza, everybody.
Hello, fellow East Village scribes. It's an honor to be here. Guardian angel. Spirit one night visited me, answering my call for insight. Up my spine swirled a blaze of light, reaching my third eye locus, erupting passions, chiming into my soliciting ears, relinquishing judgments and premonitory tears. Intelligence outpoured its divinity. Belief emerged from the experience, discharging its brilliance, defying dualistic probabilities. Art is created from unmanifested sparks, assembling from chaos and tolerance, like mothers responding to their singing larks, ascending beyond orbits of ignorance. Flow your soul's shadow, rupture your ego's fear of tomorrow, and rebuff yesterday's sorrows, favoring the mystery of this present unknown. In the silence between cramped spaces, triggered hearts yearn for grace and want to erase high-pressured mistakes, manifesting paradigm shifts, leaving traces. Sentimental bouts only weaponize clever Lucifer to arouse delusions and doubt for his self-indulgent sufferers. Truly, pretense casts dark shadows for what's to ensue. While I'm gone, ingrain what you've obtained, remaining alert with balanced heart, soul, and brain. Energy surpasses borders and trends. Through light, sound, and love, infuse the collective with what's profound. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Begonia Plaza. So now we will have David Huberman's piece read by Noel Kelly Nolan. David Huberman, I believe, is in another country right now, right? Thailand. He's in Thailand. Yeah, so lucky guy for him, right?
Right?
Yeah, man. All right. I'd love to do my Huberman impression. The Woman Who Sells Black Garlic by David Huberman. The woman who sells black garlic out of an old red telephone kiosk in Pattaya, Thailand, tells me business is booming. Surprisingly, there's new clientele that loves and buys her dark fermented spicy vegetables. Japanese, I said? No, she says, they are Farangs, near Russia. Oh, Eastern Europeans or Slavic people, I replied. She looks up at me. It's obvious she has a crush on me. She smiles. Yes, I think so. But there's something else about them that makes them different from the other Farangs. Oh, I don't know. I can't describe it to you in English. For a moment, she gets very quiet, and she could see that she's working something out. Then she says to me, when they first came to me, these people, they would only buy at night from me, just when I'm leaving. All of them very pale looking under the lamplights of Pattaya City. But now they show off magnificent sundowns and buy from me in the morning. The men and women, they're very handsome. Then she stopped talking and again went into heavy thought. Oh my! You are brooding, my sweet flower. She comes out of her trance quickly. No, just thinking about them. Sorry, my friend. She playfully taps me on my shoulder and continues with the conversation. Only there is something very old and cruel about them, especially around their eyes and their mouths. Oh, some misery surrounds them. Yes. Wow. Seems like you're afraid of them. Oh, not really, she says. They're good customers. And I feel like they would not harm me. They say the same talk to me. That my product, the black garlic, has exchanged their lives. That is wonderful. A great word in English. Wonderful is. Well then, all's well that ends well. You're making good money, you got new clientele. Just some weird people, right? She gives me her seductive look, grabs me and whispers in my ear. I remember now what they told me. They come from big castles on huge mountains in the east with much fog. Their city is called Transylvania. She then kissed me on my neck and put a trace of her red lipstick on me.
Yay, Dave.
Thank you very much, Mo. And now we will have Mr. Burt Baroff, and then we have Rhonda ZANGWILL, and then VIVIANA Duncan. All right, Burt Baroff, everybody.
I need service. Thank you. The sonnet will equip your hearts.
Speak up, Burt, we can't hear you.
Be called the baby boy. Remember when moment to moment, hour to hour, things were just the first time. Birthdays or any days, no matters, he celebrated every day. Baby boy held his,
Baby boy wrote stories. In one tale, his dog Scott went to school, learned to read and write. They helped each other with their homework. Baby boy often said, I don't need any more school. I learned enough. I'm all grown up. Where's my bike? Baby boy held his fork in his fist, his napkin at meals, and stain-free, as fresh and as unsoiled as. I'm sorry. At table time, I can cut my food. I'm all grown up. Soon followed by a whispered plaint. Somebody cut my food. Dinner done. He often nestled in his mother's lap and fell asleep. Baby boy, his friends and teachers, 26 in all, playing, learning, scolding, hugging. On a typically wondrous and whirling school morning, when suddenly the sanctity of this nest of love soiled until the last day of time by a hate-filled man armed with an obedient hand. The voice of learning stilled the silent sounds of lights unlit. Scotty's waiting on baby boy's bed to do their homework together.
That's a really great poem. If you couldn't hear
Not
my
working.
really glad you should look it up.
It's not working. Mic is not working.
Oh. Okay, is it working now?
No. No.
So the mic isn't working. Is it working now? No?
No.
Testing? No?
Wasn't the mic on? I didn't know this.
You got technical difficulties? All right, so Rhonda Z will read without the mic because she said she's a big mouth. All right, and then we have Viviana Duncan and Lily Georgic.
Can you all hear me? Yes. All right. This is called Blintzes, a fantasy meditation. Did you know that Emma Goldman, that famous anarchist, could cook? Blintzes, cheese blintzes. This is not so common knowledge, but among friends and especially suitors, so many, she is almost as famous for her blintzes as for her belligerence. Whenever they lock her up, and that's pretty often, they'd say, Emma, who will feed us now? Emma, the anarchist, is cooking for Izzy, the Zionist. He is not belligerent. He is British. There is a difference. Emma, says Izzy, talking with his mouth full, what's in these blintzes? Flour, Emma says, and fervor. Without fervor, why cook? Pass me the salt, says Izzy. Also, I have trouble sleeping every night. Give me an egg, will you? Did you want applesauce or sour cream? The secret is in the cheese. You must let it come to room temperature first. A cold cheese filling is an abomination. I am deeply sorry to hear that you do not sleep. Who can sleep anyway when there's so much important work to do since the last Zionist Congress? Maybe Uganda is not such a good idea for the homeland. It's already filled with Ugandans. Homeland, she says. There's home and there's land. I had a home in a land. It's so touchy, these Americans. Still, you can't argue with fame. They called me the most dangerous woman in America. I'm famous too, the third most outstanding Jew in the world. Time magazine had me on the cover. Why third, she says. You tried going up against Einstein. I have trouble sleeping, he says. I have trouble settling, she says. I'm out of print, he says. I'm out of luck, she says. I invented the melting pot. I invented free love. I like yours better, he says. Me too, she says. Emma whips the batter into a lacy froth. She pours a short stream. It sizzles, bubbles, browns. Do you think maybe it's the mattress? Could it be too soft? These blintzes, he says, are bliss. What is it? What do they have? Passion, she says, and butter. People love butter. People, he says, the people need rousing. You need rousing, she says. If only my wife were here. Marriage is a trap for women, she says. Not mine, he says. They deported me, you know, for anti-war work. Well, you know, pro-war work is always more popular. First, though, jail. It got to be a habit, them marching me off, but not so terrible. At least I had books. My books? The King of Schnorrers? That might be good jail fare. I've never been to jail, he says. It would not help your insomnia, she says. Best then to avoid it, he says. Yes, if possible. Please pass the salt.
I think we got the mic back?
Yes.
All right, just so you know, you'll hear the little beep from the little timer at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and then the tambourine goes off at 3 minutes. So if you hear the little beep, that means wrap it up, but thank you, everybody. Everybody's doing great so far, and we're going to keep going. So next up, we have Viviana Duncan, then Lily Georgick, and then Madeline Artenberg. So let's hear it for Viviana Duncan, everybody.
In the 1950s, Barbie and Ken were invented without penises and vaginas, also known as pussies, also known as cunts, also known as cocks, or, you know. That, when I was 13, I noticed that and it pissed me off, okay? And this poem is called Lips. It's in the voice of an African woman, and white women never have lost their clits. But brown and black women in Africa, the Middle East, and sometimes Brooklyn and Queens, where doctors are paid off to cut the clits off. The poem is called Lips. She is born whole, angel with onyx eyes. Lips part, words flow, no sound is heard. Speaks through her mind, not allowed to be heard. Eyes bubble with tears, flesh dark milk chocolate, naked before the mirror. She misses softness of her clit. She was born whole until she was cut. Lips part in silence. Thank you.
Lily Georgick, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Happy to be here. But at the age of 13, I had a different experience. I witnessed my father having an epilepsy fit. Papa's ghost rubs hands, stalks and fits from kitchen through hallway to living room window and back. Electric current guzzling water in sink, washes hands, flows back, rubbing hands, got DT jitters on hallway track, is moving fast. Halt! October, the terrorist epilepsy throws a grenade in the nerve center of Papa's brain. His ghost falls off track, eye shrinking into microscopic being, slipped through Papa's eyeball, steal upon the terrorist who is cackling over the successful attack. We grapple, roll in the ridge, Papa's ghost shuddering the while. My sister and brother shrink to my size, come to the rescue, tying up epilepsy, we drag it out of Papa's eyeball. Papa's ghost stirs, gets up and in Russian says, "Spasibo, Chatka, thanks kids," gets on a broomstick, heads in the direction of the Ural Mountains, where accordions and balalaikas are played by Tavarish ghosts.
is off, the
All
mic
right,
is off.
we're having technical difficulties, you're gonna have to project. So the next up, we have, let's see if we can, I think I'll be blowing a fuse maybe? We have so much energy in the room, there it goes. We have so much energy, we're just blowing the power off of it.
We had so much energy.
Madeline Artenberg, our lovely timekeeper.
Again, to echo what Linda said, I'm so happy we were able to put on the New Year's Day event at the last minute, and here's the culmination of it. At Ellis Island, Father leaves his Sephardic last name in the hay wagon he escaped in, blends with the Eastern European Jews at Ellis Island. He settles family in a Brooklyn project. When Father smells one whiff of cumin-laced lamb, he closes windows, piles on his plate brisket and boiled potato. When he comes upon neighbors, he brushes past their "Como estás?" mutters under his breath, "I'm fine, I'm fine." When his daughter asks where he was born, he points far across ocean. She collects photos of faces like his, long and narrow, high cheekbones, sharp chin, dark eyes. In school, she slips easily into me llamo. Señoritas in red beckon from grammar books. When she decides to teach Spanish, Father yells, "You're throwing away your education." Now, he's lost the way to temple, can't find the next prayer page. Every day she shows him photos of faces like his. He's forgotten who she is, forgotten his name. Every day he prays, "Dio, por favor, take me to mi padre."
Next up, we have AHIMSA, and then we will have Amy Barone's poem read by Ron Kolm, and then Bruce Weber is up, everyone. Yep.
It's an honor to be here. This is self-explanatory. Eulogy for Lou Reed. Get thee on that A train and get as far as you possibly can from your time-bound backwater where no one's truly free. There's nothing going down at all. That's what you screamed to me from a tiny red transistor radio many years ago, and something about the resistance inside me subsided. You said it was all right, and for some reason I believed. Thanks be which gave you a barren home and restlessness to seek. There's a certain grace in the desperation of anything but this, anywhere but here. So just get yourself down to the village or the LES and you take your chances there. With the punks, poets, junkies, the ones who are tossed, complete in the incompleteness. Ones who seek to seek, not needing to find. Only the truly lost ever find anything in this life anyway. You found your salvation then. Like a bell of clarity, some trash chorus of tattered halfway angels rang out, and it was all right. So it was. I finally believed in something. Thank you.
All right, now we have Amy Barone's poem read by Ron Kolm. And then we will have Bruce Weber, and then K.B. NEBCOSKY, and I hope I said your name right. All right, could you come up here?
I'll read from back here.
Ron's doing, Ron, so he's going to read from the back, so everybody has to turn around if they want to hear it. Project.
Mater Matuta, first worshipped at a temple in Satirico, south of Rome in the Pontic Marshes. She was mother goddess from the east, sister to chaos and eros, counted on for the ripening of grains. So symbolized the deity, her sacred body round and fertile. After the 7th century BC, Europe looked to her for peace and love. Women, architects of agriculture and tamers of wildlife, took her cue. Believers prayed to the Virgin before mobility and wars arose when men on horseback rode in.
Thank you very much. And now we will have KD, and then we have JM THEISEN de Gonzalez. I hope I said that right. And then Joni Sohiki, right? Sozike. I'll get it right one day.
Keep practicing.
Bruce Weber, everybody.
God, it's so nice to be back. It's so nice, isn't it? Just gonna find a page.
Bruce.
Yeah.
Well, Bruce finds the page.
1995.
I just want to say that if anybody doesn't know, Bruce was one of the original people who started the Nia Day reading for the alternative.
Yes. I did it for 25 years. In poem. In the gust of an unforgiving wind, in the tumult of a full sip of redemption, in the limp throw of a beleaguered child, in the violent thrust of an impossible contention, in the musings of a strange boy asleep by a river, and the flash of light revealing the pathway home, and the benevolent kiss of a kind and lovely maiden, in the broken rules of a bad age, in the blip in the radar that never stops circling, in the rotten onion seeping into the room, in the apology I left on the finicky desk, in the red ruler I left for the sad mathematician, in the Google-eyed demons of love, in the brash assumption that flew west, in the cactus-filled park where we ran in the rain, in the tall chair that spooked Lizzie and her pals, in the imagination of the girl lifting off to Neptune and her moons, in the triumphant spirit of walls and beams and skylights, in the meddlesome laughter of a green-eyed frog, in the moment when we met and the cow catapulted over the moon.
Next up, we have JM THEISEN de Gonzalez.
Never mind. It is impossible to overstate how influential and impactful this album was in my life. I was in art school questioning everything, financially on the edge of a knife, sharing boxes of Fruit Loops with my dog for sustenance. The first time I heard Smells Like Teen Spirit, I was on a date in a city bar in a moribund relationship and felt a jolt of electricity in that riff, as if the chords telegraphed sparks to my blood cells. Who was that? The title, Nevermind, with its low-key rage and shoulder shrug implicit within, perfectly set the table of contents and became a cri de coeur for Generation X. Impressive to have that wall of feelings, anti-feelings, and noise in a sonic democracy of three, pure dark pop put through a meat grinder. Hence its appeal to me. My struggle with crippling depression forced me to drop classes. I did not have the resiliency for schoolwork and classes. Uninsured, so no medication money, just white-knuckling through life, my rosary of sanity made of dog walks and intensely personal, color-drenched paintings. Undoubtedly, I picked up on the brain chemistry undertow present in the music. Nirvana was responsible for two memories for me that felt like an outstretched hand reaching to pull me out from the void. The concert at Roseland on July 23rd, 1993. I went with a friend and worked really hard not to show how buoyed I was by the newer, more tenebrous music from the yet released In Utero. I felt seen and vampirically drew energy from the sweaty, shirtless crowd moving as one during Nevermind's hits. The second time was a night in long ago Williamsburg. Not the Williamsburg of today with its nannies, artisanal pickles, Apple Store, and Whole Foods, but a woolier, funkier place, bursting with unheard talent. Near closing time at the right bank, and someone handed off a Nevermind cassette. I Am Someone. Before anyone could blink, the mosh pit on the floor turned into bopping on the bar top. Me, Alice, Larry, and a few others. Dancers shook, grooved, and lost layers of clothing in the abandon of movement. It was a liberating delight. And it made me form an opinion. Everyone should have their night of dancing on a bar while they are young to feel free, beautiful, and a little closer to heaven. Thank you, and I'm deeply grateful for being here.
Thank you very much. Alrighty. Joni Soviki? Zozike.
Did we lose KB?
No, KB, I'm so sorry. We read.
No,
Oh, I missed you. I'm sorry. All right, I'm sorry.
He's my friend, so I...
KB, friend of Joni. Sorry, KB.
Thanks, Jeremy. This is to Hillary Keel, who we lost last year. She's always casting her Vermeer lighting. It's called Pulse. My shade was. Scythe shopping for the pastoral were to identify farming tools, since we're all here to harvest in the bigger picture. Recognize leaping deer logos on combines, learn how to ball up words into fists, a haymaker on every line. Listen to how the land inhales, the sky exhales, follow raindrops that rat-a-tat-tat, mountain streams, lead to rivers, that lead to an ocean, to evaporate skyward, the transmigration of souls. Like Icarus, I brown bag it. You know the Appalachian word for bag is poke, as Granddad Marty called them. He cooked Slovak dumplings, soft as marshmallows. My dumplings, stones. Today we tour homes of our favorite poets. Today we're munching away in Hillary's kitchen. There's a ladder in the stairwell where Hillary gestures to the rooftops, and up, up, up we climb into the Brooklyn sky.
Thank you very much. We do Miss Hillary. That was lovely. Thank you. And now we have Joni. Zosie K. Yeah. Zosie K. Joni. Let's go.
The poet otherwise known as the poet with the utterly unpronounceable name. I just want to thank you all. I am so glad to be here amongst you. I'm very honored to be in this anthology. Wow, this is really some great shit. Pat yourselves on the back, really. Praise song to the bullet. Praise song to the bullet, the point that is the bullet. Praise the maze of careless language that permits a bullet to represent punctuation. Praise the punctuation, the puncture of the bullet that laces grammar with the blood of innocence, Praise the flight of the spotless deer that flees the hunter's dispassionate aim. Praise the hunters, for they too are prey. Praise the bear. Praise a woman's wildness that lives in her trunk of deviant urges. Praise the bear's great tenderness as he embraces his bear child with tender paws. Praise the woman who says, "You just have to bite the bullet." Praise the woman who replies, "I will never bite the bullet. I will bite the pubis of the blood orange nibble gently at sweet pink flowers, but I will not praise the shooter, and I will not bite the bullet unless it flies into my mouth. Praise the bullet caught between the teeth of stillness like a nervous carrion bird. Thank
Thank you, Jody. And now we will have Robert Heiger, followed by Wayne KRAL, and then Margaret Wall. Let's hear it for Robert Heiger, everybody.
At the risk of sounding a bit redundant, I too am greatly honored by being present with all of these great writers today. These words harken back to a dark time really not too long ago. What darkness now descends? What darkness now descends on a world consumed with fear and noxious loathing? What darkness now consumes the imagination, selfishly hoards, kills with noiseless derision? Invisible foes march in lockstep with fools who miss the message and suffuse with noise, while faceless masses lead the way out of the abyss, accompanied by leaders who express but a simpering hiss. What darkness now descends upon beleaguered souls, sequestered in their shuttered quarters, afraid, alone, coping with bodies shattered, minds in fog delirium? And this met with monarchic ravings of imperium. Disinformation, the nausea of lies and propaganda, Joseph Goebbels' demented smile painted in clouded skies above the offices housing seats of power, whose occupants with contempt discredit reason, brandish armaments. To what end this bluster of gormless charlatans polluting airwaves with hollow cries of reboot? Tears pour from skies replete with ominous clouds. Panic leaches barricaded soil, wasted lives, exposed bowels. This is not the new normal. This is a prolonged abnormal. Suspension of reality amidst fallen bodies, stuffed in unrefrigerated containers by the Didi. We cannot mask the stench. No, not of bodies. We cannot mask the fetid aroma of forsaken reason, nor can we stop the retching of the weary who listen and know well this bombast of the season. This stasis of spirit, this lingering mold of minds of those who think they know better, they better know. The time will come. They will have to answer, not stay dumb. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. At this time, I want to turn over the emceeing to Viviana Duncan, who's going to help me out so I don't lose my voice. And before I do that, I'm going to read the second poem that's in this book. So here we go. Okay, this is called, and the other thing is, we have 2 copies of the book that are going around for people to sign, people who came in late, so I'm trying to sign the book before you leave. And people who also came in late, please no introductions, just read your piece. All right, this is called In the Backyard. My father cradled the fragile tomato seedling. Be careful with the delicate stem. Placing the green plant into the small hole, we press down the soil. Don't leave any air pockets or the roots will rot. Digging in the garden, Dad taught me how to transplant the fragile fruit. I understand his passion. My father never taught me to use a tool for weeding. His advice was, it's easiest to do after a heavy rainfall, when the ground is soft and the roots can't hold dirt. He explained lopers and clippers and tulip snippers. On our knees we pulled weeds, wearing worn garden gloves. It was the outdoors we loved. Thank you, everybody. And now I give you Viviana Duncan, who will introduce the next group of people.
Who's next? Wayne KRAL. Wayne. Presente Wayne KRAL.
Learn the names.
Thank you. This is called Long Distance, Please. If I were your camera, I wouldn't be your phone. I wouldn't be your Google account, tell your time, be your bank, tell your directions, be your alarm clock, keep you current with the news, butt call your ex, be your translator, scare you to death if you misplaced me, but I would take a goddamn good picture.
Okay, now we have Margaret Wall, and then Maddie Paris, and then Puma Pearl. Thank you. Margaret Wall.
It's a privilege to be here from Long Island, guys. This book's phenomenal. Page 262, Being Extra. An expeditious glance on my screen. There you were, a brief sighting of those almond-shaped eyes, dark, thick hair, and long eyelashes. As a boxing referee in sneakers, black shorts with a plain white t-shirt. Watch as you meander from one side of the room across to the other. A meander role in a scene inside an Irish pub in Montauk. Insignificant to most, but this small-scale character lives inside a moment to last a lifetime. Seeing you, the man I crushed on at 15, in front of the camera instead of behind one, so alive in 1999, is a gift. A non-speaking walk on the film Sunburn. This undersized cameo returns my teenage butterflies like an opportunity of seeing you would. This indulgence after your death ensures that even spare parts in movies should never be cut and tossed to the studio floor. One trivial segment provides the chambers of my heart to pound a little harder, love a bit stronger, towards 1 minute I can call a legacy. Thank you, guys.
And now Maddie Paris.
I'm here to expose an imposter who spent his entire life and career imitating me and making millions of dollars and also putting one of his scurvy poems into this anthology. Now I'm going to read the poem. Luckily, we have exposed this monster. And you all know who he is. The Ballad of George Santos. I'm that guy with the line, the spinner's designer felon. You phonies deserve. Whenever I say or babble all day, at least I have swagger and nerve. When one's a conniver, a creepy survivor, one often must cousin the many. I often project my remarks for effect, if sometimes they may not be. If I claim to be gay in a casual way, if I mention I've managed a bank, it never seemed to my crew all that untrue. In a clubhouse where no one is frank. I never let on it might be a con I mentioned. I shield for rich brokers. My publicist told me to watch such baloney and lap up the votes of you jokers. In Congress, we actors who play manufacturers offer such phantasmal fiction. You had hoped that our crew might champion you. You're sunk in a hunger position. Thank you very much. You'll go to jail.
We both have black hair and black cornroom glasses. Please welcome Puma Pearl.
She's got highlights. You don't have any highlights.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody who's taking part in this, and thank you to this library, which I love with the passion of a true nerd. The last December day, I woke up with my arm around the dog. It was the last day of the year, a slow drizzle as the seconds leaked out. I drunk myself a wine hangover, paid the bar tab in pennies, played saxophone with 4 brassy women and couldn't find the note, slow danced to Since I Fell For You on repeat. It was a birthday party and the young guys made fun of my fat ass. Afterward, I had no place to go, so I moved to Montana, and the snooty van driver chastised me for buying a soda. She added that she prefers Beekman Place to Billings. The next time I wake up, it will be 2023, William Burroughs' favorite number, so perfectly prime. I lie in bed, awake, feeling like I'm dreaming. A little black dog wants to play ball. I shake off sleep and head off into the apocalyptic reality of the East River Park. It's filled with all of our lost, broken, damaged dreams. Thank you.
Oh, it's turn for Daniel Stein, and then Big Mike, and then Philip Giambri for Vincent Quattrochi. Daniel Stein. Go keep Big Mike.
Hey man, move over so my girl can sit down next to you. His girl pops her big fat ass right down to the park bench next knee. Now there's a row of anxious crackheads all lined up at the park bench of Union Square Park East, and Daddy here has just scored. Their host whips out his brand spanking new crack pipe, sticks some rock in the bowl, then passes the pipe down the line so everybody gets a chance to suck on the devil's glass dick. That is, all except me, of course. Want any? No thanks. You can have my share. More for you that way. Usually I occupy my own solitary wooden bench along the east, but today is Crack Wednesday, so every seat in the house is taken. I usually sit close enough to them to catch their chatter, use it later on for my monologues, but today they're too close, uncomfortably close. Close enough to smell that acrid chemical smoke they all exhale, somewhere between chlorine, bleach, and stale ammonia, or perhaps that's just the scent of his girl's poor vaginal hygiene. You don't know what a cock ring is? It's like a rubber band. You put it on your. He pantomimes by obscenely grabbing his crotch. He turns to me, hey, you know what a cock ring is, don't you? Yeah, I was actually featured in an underground film titled Lord of the Cock Rings. It was a takeoff on the Lord of the Rings film franchise. Lord of the Cock Rings! Lord of the Cock Rings! You know, I knew it was a mistake telling a joke to a crackhead. Especially after he's freshly tweaked up. He starts laughing hysterically, coughing and sputtering, spit flying out of his mouth, snot flying out of his nose. Then he goes into a grand mal seizure. He falls on the ground, flopping around like a trout landed by an angler's rod and reel, smacks his head, spurting, and then blood spurting out of his nose and ears, and suddenly he falls silent. And still, ambulance takes him away. He was DOA at Beth Israel Hospital Center, ER. It was a killing joke.
Philip Giambri reading Vincent Quattrochi's poem in the collection.
Vincent lives in Buffalo and his train got canceled, so he asked me to read this piece. It's called Instructions for Understanding This Poem. Discombobulation revision. Take line A and misread it. Rewrite it. The green tractor cast a shadow on the black top. Insert the colors B and C on line D. She was a blue swimming pool in the winter's morning sun. Take the imagery B, C, and D and hit delete by mistake. You know, he snarled, your creative efforts could easily be interpreted as a derivative clown show in a small city's poetry section. Lines F and G are a misdirection. Get a cup of coffee, light a camel, surf some porn sites for the next hour for inspiration. Lines L and M contain too much information. Adjust degree of disclosure accordingly. Hit delete again, this time on purpose, to reflect suspect prose lines in J and K. By now, your green tractor should be immersed in the swimming pool along with the woman in the winter's morning sun. Repeat line J. Waste another hour on line looking for your name on Goodreads, then refer back to line A. Delete the line about the burning basketball player's hands while deep frying French fries, implied racism. Take the cryptic reference of lines EE and FF and GG and delete that bit about irony of the reverend who advocates use of condoms from the pulpit and he has a police record for attempted rape. Insensitivity towards sexual assault. Put he, she, it on the green tractor with the woman in the pool. Delete sexual orientation of that woman. It's clearly gender bias. Repeat lines H and I and J, refer back to line A, delete references to the modern pedagogy gone awry. Daycare teacher dressed up as a Care Bear, beaten by 6th graders on Valentine's Day in West Virginia. Lawsuit pending from the teachers union. So terrible now you should have the Reverend, the basketball player, the daycare teacher, and William Carlos Williams swimming in the blue pool in the winter's morning sun. Only now it's raining on line F. Make the great tractor a red wagon instead, line B. All personification, metaphor, and meaning should be clear and in clear compliance with prevailing cancel culture groupthink guidelines. If not, refer back to line A. Thank you.
And then Mo Kelly Nolan, read by Miriam S. What was that last one? Mo Kelly Nolan.
I really appreciate the anthology, being part of this reading, and the snacks. I have 2 pieces in the anthology, I'll do one, it's called Shredding Lessons. But he doesn't want to swim, doesn't want to learn. He's scared of the water. You're terrorizing him, ruining his vacation. Just let him play nearby, where we can keep an eye on him. Maybe if he sees us, doesn't feel pressured, he'll calm down, come closer, put his feet in the water. That would be a start, part of the process. Giving him time to calm down, to catch his breath. That's part of what we're supposed to do, part of teaching him, of being a parent. No? Knowing when we're amping things up too much, knowing when to scale things back. When to change the subject, turn to a different activity. Knowing that incremental steps sometimes are enough. A little bit now, a little bit more tomorrow, maybe. Incremental steps, even if they never lead him to where our ambitions are telling us he should be.
Presenting Randy Hoffman.
Hi everybody, this is a pandemic story and it's also about the stationery store on Avenue A that a 13-year-old burned down. Okay. Card store portal. Cluttered and unremarkable from the street, the local stationery store improved once an Arabic family bought it from the Orthodox Jews, who had owned it for decades.
The new owners were friendlier. It was a family affair. You might be greeted by the grandfather with a long beard, or the mother in a hijab, or the hip young son. They now carried high-end notebooks in different sizes and better art supplies. This store was useful when you needed a padded envelope or two and didn't want to buy a package of a dozen. It was also convenient and across the street from the grocery store, so you didn't have to make a separate trip. It was about a mile's walk to the closest Staples, and papyrus was very expensive for last-minute wrapping paper. While the notebooks in the store were lovely, the printer paper tended to be old and yellowed here and too depressing to buy. I always had to walk in circles around the store to find anything, especially since the owners closed their nearby dollar store, consolidating the two stores. So now the pens were found next to the Tupperware, and the whiteout might have been next to the party supplies. On this day, I was scouring the neighborhood for elusive hand sanitizer. I wandered into a back room of the store that I hadn't noticed before. This room contained an odd assortment of cleaning products. Almost hidden behind some buckets and mops was an open turquoise door. I peeked my head outside to see a garden of cherry blossom trees. I could smell a mild fragrance of flowers, with the wind blowing the petals in a circle. I had missed their brief season this year at the Brooklyn Botanical Garden, since we were all huddled together in quarantine, and I was afraid of becoming infected on the subway from Manhattan to Brooklyn. The weather this spring had been lovely, but everyone was too afraid of pathogens lurking around every corner to enjoy it. I took a step outside to breathe in the warm breeze and the pink flowers, and the door loudly slammed shut behind me. I sat down on a white marble bench to feel the sun on my face and breathe after the musty, airless card shop. I watched some fluffy white clouds high up in a bright blue sky for a few minutes. I was in the process of idly checking my phone when I looked up and saw a small spotted deer right in front of me looking at me. I could sense that it wanted me to follow it. We walked out of the red brick walled-in backyard of the store into a wilder and more overgrown garden. I followed the deer to where it stopped to take a drink at the lily pond with goldfish. In the center of the pond was a gold Buddha statue. The pond seemed to be fed by a gurgling stream, which I began to follow until the landscape no longer seemed like any kind of garden, but more of a forest. The deer stopped to nibble on some greens, and I noticed a field of lavender. Again, the breeze brought the mild fragrance, the purples contrasting with the surrounding greens. I took off my black Nikes and bright blue socks and dangled my feet into the cold water. I looked at the rocks in gradations of gray, and now the water moved in patterns around them. I realized that I had stopped making lists in my head and could just experience the cool water and the blue sky and the waving lavender plants.
Mo Kelly Nolan by Miriam S.
Yeah, I'm scared shitless. Okay. In Memoriam 2022, what a drag. Nothing beats it, that first drag of our Blessed Mother, I mean that morning cigarette. The rest of the day, smoking is just that, another drag. Every other drag becomes lesser and lesser. Addiction alert, oh so sad. That beloved first drag will eventually become another drag. I no longer can smoke, told to quit years ago. Smoke from cigarettes now makes people gag. Is the smell of tobacco really so bad? Smokers suddenly ostracized, combined with outrageous pricing. Quitting was such a painful drag. Is drag racing even legal anymore? Talk about wild fun for those chosen to drive one. Watching from top of the hill in a hyped up crowd, a communal thrill, hedge your bets and bet on the girl. What happened? Are those days gone? Say it's not so. Everything is such a drag. How about dressing in drag? A beautiful woman, or is she really a man? Oh no, I may have misgendered. How about those drag kings who made the ladies go mad? I need to experience another show,
with PG comedy gags. How to give the audience what they want, the only question they had. You mad? Be mad. Just, please don't be a drag. We demand the Marlboro Man back. Innocent fun to be had. Nobody actually cares about Disney shows. For who? Not for me or for you. We go to the dark alleys to find some curious place where it is found. Interact with performers, dancers, writers, and art weirdos. We want it back. The danger, the sensations, our wacky wild times. Everything else about living and surviving is kinda just a drag. Here's to 2023. I look forward to what I've never seen or had. I feel it's me, this compulsion to stay breathing, the need to keep giving back. Maybe it's all of us recovering from our fear of death. I don't fear death, but others do. So I've been made to feel bad. Now is the time to bring back the mad, queer thrills, curious delirium in living, a life that is nothing but breathing is just that, such a drag.
Ron Kolm, and then Ella Little by Didi Champagne, and then Mindy Livolkov.
I'll do two quick ones. Park-dwelling homeless men in Tompkins Square Park. Homeless men sit slumped on stained park benches, grinding their teeth in anger and defeat. But they all seem to know who Clayton Patterson is. And when he shows up with his video camera, they smile for him as he films them. And then they seem able to make their way through another day.
Hey, Clayton.
Size matters. When I first moved to the Big Apple, I lived in Hell's Kitchen. I stopped by the Gotham Book Mart because I was broke. I asked if they were hiring. Sure, a manager replied, pointing to a small table with a typewriter surrounded by tall stacks of books. There was a tiny steel chair almost hidden beneath it. If you can fit, you got the job. I couldn't and didn't. Luckily, the Strand, a much larger store, eventually hired me, so I was able to remain a New Yorker.
Ellen Little by Didi Champagne.
Thank you. Almost ripped. Tonight stretches penetrating. It pushes and pumps before slapping me against the side of a red brick building and bulging through a darkness at growing folder. Bottomless spreads like jam, yet you are impossible to hide when you enter front stage and twist me like a hula hoop. My arms and legs are rolling across your silhouette, and all before I break you into the itty-bitty pieces we feast on. OMG, I just want to love without thinking. Thank you.
And now Mindy Livolkov, and on deck, Chris Iconicide, and then Bill Considine, and then Amy Barone.
Thank you so much. Everybody is so awesome. I'm so glad to see everybody. And I have a short poem. It's called So Not Sonnet, a rap. I'm going to change it just a little bit. Illusion and confusion in seclusion. The rights, the lefts, the songs, the wrongs, in drear clear, the year in the ear, and the blasts. The blasts, the blasts, the casts, the races and classes and states and slates and lies and baits and tries and guys and whys into the boats. The hope, scope, the hotels, dope, the ropes, plied, the bodies piled, roads lined, buried homes, drones roam, cracked ice, waters, height, streets, tents looming, rent, the next blast, waste, rats replace, chase next day, hope for better way, even play, equal pay, safe mates, lose hates, lose hates, lose hates.
Where's iconicide?
Yay. All right. No introductions, just this commercial message. This is a TBT post on Facebook. TBT, remembering that time I fell asleep up in a tree. I did that a lot, also up in the monkey bars. At the playground, my class of the special ed school I went to for 8 years would frequent whenever there were enough fights, so our teacher, Barbara Doherty, would adjourn for the rest of the day so we could blow off some steam. So this had to be around 1980. And by the time I woke up, I realized the class had left without me. At first I thought someone would realize I wasn't there with them. I mean, I was known to wander. But I figured they'd turn back if they hadn't seen me after a few blocks. So I picked up a football they'd also forgotten and started tossing it around. That is, until it hit the tree I had been sleeping in and went over a fence. All right, I thought. I climbed the fence to the top, swung myself over, and lowered myself as far as I could before releasing my grip. I figured I'd drop to the concrete at the base of the fence and start looking for that football. But I misjudged the distance and my ability to make that narrow ledge, and instead dropped maybe 10 to 15 feet, landed wrong on my right foot, twisting my ankle, and rolled down the hill a spell. This was right by the Long Island Expressway, and the embankment was high enough and steep enough we didn't notice the traffic much when we were in that playground. I stood up gingerly and realized my right leg could not really support my weight. Now, I've always had a weird relationship with pain. Because Dad beat me badly and regularly enough, my body simply decided not to feel it. So I found that football and made my way down the rest of the way to the street level. I knew from being on the school bus that the lower school was a mile or so down the road. So I started dragging myself forward, one step after another. I was unable to lift my right leg, but I figured someone would notice the skinny little white kid limping along the roadside and call for help. Nah, I knew they wouldn't. It must have taken me close to an hour, but I made it to the lower school, gave one of the teachers there the football, and told them what had happened. Just by chance, a group of the younger kids were about to finish up some after-school activities, so it was suggested I be placed on one of the short buses and sent home with the rest of the group. For me, it was a typical episode, and truth be told, foreshadowed that night in May of 1993 when dozens of people saw me dying on a Friday night. See the tracheotomy? And no one stopped to help. Yup, I flatlined. But it gave me one of my personal 10 commandments. If it hurts when you move, and it hurts when you don't move, then you might as well move. It's all in my book, Notes from the Exploding Library, up on Amazon and Kindle, and the commercial. Check out iconicide.com.
I just want to say I want to thank Chris Iconicide. He is taping this for us, so it'll be there for posterity. And thank you very much for doing that. You volunteered to do that. Get back to you.
Yay.
Thank you, Linda Kleinbub. And now it's Bill Considine's turn.
One dime.
Thank you. It's great to be here. This is called Monumental. It looms as large in my memory until I see that more than half is new. A modernist addition abuts the old red brick coal plant that was the site. The old building has been restored, now intact and not the broken ruin I remember from 40 years ago. It was a memorable art scene. Hundreds of artists, 1,000 visitors at once, clamoring off the grid, bold. That's where the monument show was, I exclaim. No one understands or cares, of course. You had to be there, then. Researching, I learned I had the name wrong. It was the Monumental Show, and it was.
Amy Barone on deck. Oh, we did, okay. So it's Philip Giambri, and on deck, Jan Castro and Pete Dolak.
There he is, Miss America.
I have two pandemic poems from the anthology. This first one's called Empty Pages. I'm now an imagined writer, a fictional creation in a real world, yet still believing somehow I'm a writer, as the muse remains muzzled, dreaming of greener pastures where pandemics no longer exist and life experiences happen with stories to be told. She waits, silent, wordless, as the body count mounts, marking time for history, while I remain lost on empty pages. This piece is called Grimm's Fairy Tale 2020. 4 months into it, sitting on the couch in your underwear and bathrobe, unwashed for 5 days now, watching the world fall apart on TV, belching, farting, and picking at that new pimple on your cheek. Wondering what the fuck happened to romance and dancing close to soft music and making out in a dark doorway, feeling like your heart was going to burst with joy. Smoking a doobie, watching a blazing sunset on a pier. Life was so full of possibilities. We were all going to be one. We were going to change the fucking world. Yeah, you remember that. That was another life. Maybe it never was. Thank you.
Jan Castro.
Hi, thanks. I'm on page 44.
Mike.
When we're all dead, and future generations try to roll back the pussy-grabbing, name-calling behaviors of autocrats, will the word democracy, like the word love, be a notion we once believed in, that over years was misused, turned into lip service? Yes, America once elected a black president and now has a mixed race female vice president. Yes. Brown versus the Board of Education dates back to 1954. And Latinos will soon be the new USA majority. Yet old biases, false truths, still stalk innocence, ride the internet, trample the halls of Congress, garner votes in the House and Senate. Crazy, isn't it? That American governments have supported dictators, overthrown elected heads of state, sided with oppressive regimes over allies, as China opens its doors to world trade and rebuilds African nations, as Russians' electronic bots buzz with lies to deflate our and other rival governments, as mass migrations, ethnic wars, and global pandemic inflict deaths, pain, loss. We boast that the American Revolution succeeded, on the backs of slaves, servants, Native Americans, the ghosts of Mesoamerica. Let's face it, equality never did exist. Equality has no country, no country. Equality breathes only when individuals embrace face to face, eye to eye, heart to heart.
Pete Gollard, and then Susan Young, and then Nancy Mercado.
Thanks to the folks who put this together for putting this together. All right, actually this is a winter poem that I don't usually read except when it's really cold, so I hope you'll forgive me for being a bit out of season here. The seagulls are allowed to sing. The cold wind makes a perfect platform for the hungry seagulls, waiting for stray bread. Too slow and too big to be hummingbirds, they are white, the color of this season from the plains of Siberia. What are you waiting for? Say the faces so expectant on bodies hovering just above. Or the cold wind is only untouchable to those who cannot adapt. And the seagulls are calmly perched on the East River's west wind, bemusedly watching the shoreline struggle against the flow. No, not hungry, but content on their perch, firmly planted on the prevailing current, as substantial as Java Street for creatures that can't add up dimensions correctly. Seagulls don't have to be hummingbirds, don't have to believe themselves too big or too slow. They only have to believe the East River will yield something more substantial than stray lumber, or that the undercurrent tunnel will yield bread. This is a working waterfront. Bread will come for the patient. 3 dimensions are not yet a limit. The seagulls are free to make use of their dimensions, waiting in the sky for bread or to talk shop. The wind is still allowed to give seagulls enough imagination to think themselves hummingbirds.
Okay. I think I'll do the last 2 short ones. Oh no, they're only 2. Well, okay.
Speak into the mic.
I think this is more important about situation. I call this the matriarchal lineage. On April 15, 2023, my family buried my eldest uncle, and a family member indicated our grandparents' gravestone, where my grandmother's name is Nan Young Lao. This young uncle explained that since my mother was matched by my father, who arranged your father's paper name to arrive in the USA by changing his last name from Lee to Young, she insisted to maintain her mother's matriarchal image. This is why it is important not to anglicize Y-U-N-G, Y-O-U-N-G. And I might add that, oh yeah, my mother had divorced my father at my age of 6 years in 1955, and then when she came to New York, she had to remarry because a younger guy who was our neighbor and had got her pregnant 6 months before the wedding, marriage license. So, go figure.
Presentando Nancy Mercado.
You are now leaving the American sector. You are now leaving the American sector. Only Nazis are allowed. One unit is
Good
the previous
Spanish
one in Chinese.
pronunciation. History lesson.
Better
There was no country in those soulless pilgrims who conjured their plans in dank, ash-heap castles to arrive on American soil, to pummel pristine America, eviscerate its natives, their families, their bison. There was no country in these hunting clubs, sweeping through the American land, wasting multitudes of whales, wiping out the eastern cougar. No country in trafficking slaves from Africa. No nation in destroyed families. No nation on a mutilated planet. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
You
The
now
pronunciation
return
was
to
good because I'm
the
Latina.
Nazis of left.
I was born the wrong fucking color though, I'm white. I should have had a tan or something.
How about gray like the corpse?
Carrie, Magnus, Ragnar, and then Med, Kaizu, and then David Lincoln.
Now we know who's better than who.
Welcome on this wonderful Saturday afternoon in the library. My favorite place to be with all you wonderful people. Okay. Why I feel alone at conferences. Why do we want to engage with such gods? Even a greeting from them would boost our morale. For a moment we are worse than something. We're not just useless chaff weeded from the collection. They speak like gold. Vowels and consonants shimmering, stammering so fast only cheetahs could catch up with them, and words could move like feet. I speak at a slower pace, not term-like. I grasp blindly for my words. I can't vamp it up in front of a microphone. Please do not ask me to present a paper. But it's not about me. My mousy hair and manners, non-recurrical, slow and deliberate. I'm easily rattled. I'm usually silent. Even with tears, I'm very normal. Still, I do want to matter, even with egotistical jerks. Thanks.
And now, rounding out the evening, Meg Kaizu, and then David Lincoln, and then Sarah Sarai, Howard Flanzer, and Evie Ivy. And now, Meg Kaizu.
More enthusiasm. Give the other enthusiasm.
Thank you for organizing this, and I'm very glad to be here. I'll read 2 poems. First one is called Juniper. The scent of the rain and juniper, like the river and the sounds of the wind waves, repeating, paddles in the meadow, the clouds afloat. I taste the orange and wonder if I could ever recover from this swollen heart, this red, What I don't understand in these lines, these walls, limits, resounding notes of juniper, the woody grain of fresh linen, the gray shadow. In the sun I am warm. I don't know how long I am to wait. I feel as though I am fading, pale flowers on the wallpaper in the sun. I want to rise, but I don't know how far, how long. The second one is called The Figment. Afterthought and raisins swim in this milk. The smell of cinnamon, burnt sugar, swirl, bubble, sizzle, hypnotize. The noises turn into steam, drip down the wall, slowly cloud the kitchen. I wipe my sweat and look out the window, the grain of the mint, this taste, this hunger. Thank you.
One of these guys. Give everybody these. You're not racist, right?
Great to see everyone. Really. I'm just going to read two very short ones from when I passed through Arkansas, which I had never done before a few years ago. A little louder. Okay. Yeah. This first one is like back roads in Arkansas, dense clay forest, and a town that kind of disappeared. Ozark Red Star. Only a sign flashes past. No road goes there. Only the forest ash, beech and oak, the profuse, blooming, balanced grasses. At the turn in the highway, where profit is seen as far away as every other green thing surrounding Red Star. We might have missed it, the quaint hint of a town in the rain, in lashings and squalls, awash, erasing all visibilities. But some part of trust goes into believing a sign. Who could have planted it there in this wild? And what aim or bleak dream must otherwise have appeared on this mountain? Now all that lost, to the hungry vines, my thought too. Now I glad myself into smelling the earth and rot and rain on a tarry river of wandering. They slip through the chinked passenger window. You being of discovery, let me assess the end of you in a few trees that are exhaling into my lungs, keeping me with a balance. What has framed the wild wheat blowing across this torn strip of paradise? Abandoned aspects and drift itself, the deeper rhythm of the natural. This is in Fayetteville, July, very hot. The observing stars. So hot, I sit a lot. I've got my hat and shade, giant ash trees drinking the heat. No mind to play, just sleep. And must this lead to dream or rest in scorching air? Water is the only relief. Cool water, moving water, whole playgrounds of water. Eager children running like the water, circling, draining, waiting, screaming, children like water, their teeth gleaming, biting down on the observing stars. Who wants to see me? For the days and years in which I am constantly disappearing, there are only the children surprising themselves and the water.
Sarah Sarai.
Thank you to everyone involved, including the audience. A new poem, Guide to Happy. Maybe it is true. Maybe a smile is worth 1,000 peonies plucked by Pan. Maybe people do like nice people. People like people who are nice. We've established that, right? People who smile, add to that, are pleasant. People like people who are pleasant. Many people who are pleasant are false. Are people, now the people who are pleasant, are they false? Lately, I'm smiling. Consequently, people like me more. The reference used to be being positive. Still is. It's our time to eat them, our feelings. Sister, just eat those feelings. I had brown rice and sugarless apple pie for dinner. What am I feeling now?
And penultimate, Howard Flanza.
When I planned this reading, people thought it was impossible to get so many people to read at one time, but we're actually ahead of schedule. So if anybody's here who didn't sign up who wants to read, pretty much we're going to probably finish up the next couple of readings. So this is the last opportunity if you want to read it, you need to get to read. Or if anybody has a second poem in the book and they really want to read it, we can probably do that too. All right. Howard Flanzer, everybody.
Thank you, Linda, and thank you, Big Mike, and thank you, Peter, who put this together. And it's great anthology, too. Okay, two very short poems. Human or AI? Is this a poem by a human or an AI entity? Does it matter to you? Are you moved, angered, or saddened by it? Are you indifferent to its genesis? Do you really care who wrote it? If it reads like a poem, sounds like a poem, looks like a poem, even smells like a poem, is it fake because its creator may not be human? What is its quality if written by a machine? Is it automatically of less value? Can it be created by a machine with a chipped heart? Is that totally impossible? Does AI overcome the human? Is it a dangerous digital genetic mutation which will corrupt our lives forever, compromise our flawed humanity? Will it render poetic inspiration totally non-human, nullify our poetic vision, or impel us to go beyond human limits to embody the world and to change the world? Burt Brecht brought the truth to mind, theatrical thinking underlined, a harsh light on daily life where hypocritical contradictions are rife. Sebastian, his grandson, crafts chocolates, different flavors, to entice the taste buds, producing sensual pleasure and joy. Grandfather and grandson, one reaching out to the world with acerbity, the other one wooing the world with sweetness, each one aiming to change things in their own way. Thank you.
The hostess of the Green Pavilion Open Mic in Brooklyn, the amazing Evie Ivy.
Sorry.
I'm only going to read one poem, and I'm going to say some of my favorite, and I can't say that enough, are in this room. Thank you all, and thank you for sharing this. And this is wonderful. I'm going to read the very first poem called Sing Today. Some years ago, I don't remember where I got the book, but I got the book on a Chinese poet named Li Po, and I enjoyed it very much, and it had a little biography on him. So he was friends with another poet called Tofu, and this is from where that poem comes from. It's a line from the book, Seen Today. Li Po to Tofu, pray, how is it that you have grown so thin? Is it that you suffer from poetry? They have met to read their poetry as some would for religion. They will read the old and new, rehearse their works in progress. Lured by the muse or Cupid, we lose ourselves, bees among blossoms feeding on honeyed words, words that can help us feel the sky. Disrobe to a wind of words and your plate of food runs cold. Though you can grow thin, your pen helps you to see this rounded world. As you pass an urban street, crowded, clanging, buzzing on, or the quiet country vistas, this malady too gives breath.
I'm going to pronounce this correctly. Are you ready? The amazing, from the Boogie Down Bronx, Mindy Matajasevic.
Say you wish you were a poet. Say you wish you were a poet.
Yeah, it was 3 trains and a lot of walking around.
Yeah.
Fantasy Rape Squad. Forever altered, those who have endured such violation can never go back. Those who do raping rarely pay. For years I have fantasized shooting the guilty as they smugly leave court, high-fiving their buddies and scum lawyer. I'd aim for an inch away from their weapon, so they know what getting off on a technicality really means. How we lose our way. Adapt your lessons for the smart board, he said, and my head dropped. I must be old-fashioned because my purpose and passion are my students, not some billionaire smart board. I welcome technology if it's there to serve me, not the other way around. This is how we lose our way. When I was in 5th grade, I could see my teacher having to answer to her chairman, more than to my classmates and me, rushing through the work by a deadline, our scores measuring her rather than the test, while our needs took a back seat to the whole mess. This is how we lose our way. Teachers don't get into this for the spreadsheets and bosses, with students bearing the losses when they need courses adapted to their needs, not the other way around. This is how we lose them along the way.
Peter Kozlowski as performed by Don Fields.
Thank you.
Give me a second. You lost me. Keep coming back to happening.
Is there anybody who wants to read the second poem real quick? All right, so we'll let you do that. All right, so Carrie, come on up.
We're not finished yet.
He's on the buffer, she's the last one.
Okay.
So we're almost done. Madeline and then, yes.
I don't have a book. Oh, you have a book up there? Yeah, okay, I'll read my sentence. Go ahead, Karen. Hi.
Oh, this is not working.
Hello.
Stage.
This is number 137 of the Women's Maid Central series. This is called Sahara. Please don't wake the woman who's sleeping on the one train. Her houndstooth trousers and gray sweater are still clean, if a little worn. And she's got some chopped apples and blueberries safely housed in a plastic container, a half-eaten yogurt in a plain carton, and a yerba drink waiting on the floor on this drizzly Sunday morning. Only if you are a doctor or a well-meaning subway worker, please don't disturb her. She's keeping the peace. Mr. Police Officer, please don't disturb her dreaming. The train is rocking in her sleep. Who cares if she's a vagrant or a wayward woman carrying the weight of the world? It looks like she hasn't slept for 100 years. A hard enough life is finally catching up with her. Please let her sleep. Don't steal her breakfast or her gold, or a knockoff swatch with a white plastic band on her wrist. Her arms are crossed upon her chest as she rests. Let her go. She'll be okay. I hope she is okay. Please, God, watch after her. She. Thank you.
This is from Peter Kozlowski's called Juggling Suns. The poets trip out along the rocky shore to see the sun off, and like the waves, drift back more slowly than they came. The sky builds out its fantasy on a theme, while the waters improvise a descent. If I were an all-powerful God, what world would I create? If I didn't want it to be too boring, couldn't I just create uncertainty? I'd want to invent the universe to which I could say, surprise me. And if I were a theoretical physicist, I'm not so sure I want to find the unified theory of everything. Wouldn't it invalidate a lot of great science fiction and dampen the creation of more? No thanks. I mean, come on. You already killed religion. Now you're going after sci-fi? We gotta have something. I'm out here trying to elude the explanations in order to somehow still be thrilled at all these patterns of atmospheric refraction, of various wavelengths of EMF that are perceptible by my rods and cones and processed by my visual cortex. Yeah. But be still now, my gravitation. I'd like to keep juggling things a little more.
Please welcome Eve Packer.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. This is a great one. Alrighty. Oh, please. What is it with these tall people? Forget the I want to. All right. Well, whatever. All right.
Like this.
What do you think? Remember those parties? Those blue, or was it red? Nah, it was blue light parties in someone's Queens basement. Far from home, not on the D, but some other trains. All those bodies, close teen bodies. Somehow, Ephraim George inserts his knee between your legs. You wearing a skirt or dress? Probably a skirt and too tight sweater. We didn't wear pants, jeans, not to a blue light night party in Queens. Somehow he inserts his knee. Now what? Wanna look cool? What do? Can't do the wriggle back. Can't move away. The only way to move is closer. All those fun house mirror faces, room spun honey, darling, you send me. You know, you send me. Honest you do. That's Sam Cooke. I have a crush on Sam Cooke. Not his face. I have no idea what it looks like. His voice. Those insinuations. Tenderness. Caress. Something else I don't quite get. Not yet. Far from the Bronx on the D. Far from home. City. Blindfolded city. Peace, rest, blindfolded city, night. Wanna eat endless pizza, dream. Once upon a time, the story will tell Jupiter and Ozzy. New melodies, 2024. Songs, new beats, in the air and on the street. You send me. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say that this New Year's Day alternative spoken word extravaganza, people love it. And I wanted to call up Bruce Weber because to tell us why it's called alternative, why it got started, where it first was held, and also to say whatever the hell else he wants because we owe him this legacy.
Anything that Madeline wants. I organized it for 25 years, but Miriam did it 2 years. And Pete Dolak did it 2 years. We started in '95, we started on Avenue A, between 6th and 7th, above the Pyramid Club. And it was just, Larry Jones had this huge space, this incredible space up there, where you rented out spaces, but this big room. I did a number of events there. I used to run the reading at ABC Del Rio.
Cafe Nico.
25 years. But we started out with, I just started to do it because of the church, St. Mark's Church did it, and there was just a feeling that there were a lot of good writers that weren't being included in that. And that was true in those days. I don't know about now, but in those days. I just did it for 1 year. But still true. And there was animosity in the early years. When the arcade might put it down, there was
There's always going to be
they charged money. So we did it for free, you know, we did charity. We had charity, we collected. I'm still doing it actually, but I'm doing it upstate because we moved to Sorgeties in 2018. So I'm actually, this is the 5th year. We did it 2 years live and 2 years we recorded it in October and then ran it on January 1st. But and it grew, it just grew really big. I mean, it was, people were so happy that first year that I had to do it again. So I kept doing it. I'm still doing it because it's exhausting. But I'm so glad that Madeline and several other people, of course Linda, you know, helping and making this thing still happen because it's a great thing. And I'm sure, you know, I'm sitting here, I haven't been in the city in a while, so I haven't been to any events in a while, so I don't know if any of you have seen each other.
No.
For those people, so you probably haven't, right? And there was a way for people to also just meet new people, but also to reacquaint themselves with people that they knew. And that was one of the really special things, and I guess it still is, so that's really good. I can't come on the 1st because we're still doing the event. If you're upstate and you're near Sorgeties on January 1st, on Main Street at the Newberry Artisan Market, we're doing it. We can't do it there for 10 hours. We did it for 10 hours. We still have the open. Anybody can get on. Nobody's excluded from it. But 10 hours up there with the weather and the roads, can't do 10 hours. But we stretched it this year to 7. So if you're up there, you want to come on, I'll get you on. I'm happy to. If there are any questions, people are interested in the history, I'm happy to say. But the first anthology that Clyde did, I wrote a foreword for about the history of the event. And I guess Clyde's done that. It must be 10 years? Could be. I always dreamed of it. And when we first started, I thought we could have a photocopy machine at Cafe Nico and get the poems from people, and did it. Of course, that was impossible. And then Clyde just stepped forward at one point and just said he wanted to do it, which is kind of remarkable because that's the record, really.
We did one collation, one time. I remember Juicy was there.
Yeah, 1 year.
I think we were at Nico's still, and we were on the floor with all the papers on the floor.
We asked people, because Eve Packer, for years did that with her magazine,
Right.
What's Next?
What happened?
So we asked everybody who wanted to bring one, and then we collated it, and then we had the Poetry Center, or people could pick it up there, so.
That's right.
And tell them all these places, including CBGBs.
Yeah, so we started there, and then Larry Jones got pretty wild. We couldn't be there anymore. It got pretty nuts. And then we moved to CBGB's for 2 years. And then, what? And then the Knitting Factory for 2 years. When it moved down to Leonard Street, now it's in Williamsburg.
Dixie Place.
Dixie Place for 1 year.
For 1 year. And then for 10 years, we were at the Bowery Poetry Club. That was our real home.
Yeah.
And then, Bob Holman had to change it, and he couldn't have an event like that on the first, so we had to move. So we found Dixon Place for a year, and then we were at Eureka for 5 years.
4.
And then, no, 5.
Oh,
and then,
really?
and
Okay,
then
sorry.
January 1st, after 5 years, this guy who I used to do it with says to me, oh, we're going to be fixing up the place. So, we're talking, we've got to find another place. Meanwhile, I think they're just fixing it up now. It took them 5 or 6 years to do it, so it could have stayed there, actually. About a couple of weeks before the year we were at the church on Bleecker Street.
The Lutheran Church.
Christopher Street. I get a call from the guy at Eureka. Are you guys coming back this year? I said, wait, I thought you were fixing your place up. We moved to the church.
St. John.
St. John's.
St. John's Lutheran.
I don't know if anybody else has anything to say, but I'm glad it's happening thanks to people here, and it's great that you're all here.
And you have our blessings, right?
Where's Linda?
Just want to make an announcement. There's going to be a gravitas anthology reading at the Bowery Poetry Club on Tuesday. Is that sort of 7 room? Does anybody know what time it's starting? It's at Bowery Poetry Club. Everybody's welcome. Gravitas anthology. It'll be another fun time, and probably not as much fun as this. So. But does anybody really want to read before we call it a day? All right, being back, I'm going to do a second one, and then I'm going to say a little why, and then we're going to say thanks for coming, everybody. I'm with you, so I don't have to carry them home. And I really want to just thank everybody for being here, and it's really a great time. And thank you.
Thanks.